Hi guys, Alice Taylor down here at Lytham Golf Academy, and today we're going to look at the Titleist TS driver with the 4 stock shafts available. Okay then guys, so if you're new to the channel, subscribe below, hit the notification bell to make sure that you get all my videos as soon as they come out. TS driver, now I'm going to use the TS3 and we're going to use the 4 stock drivers, which are the Mitsubishi Tensei, the Hazardous Smoke, the Project X Evenflow, and the Kuro Kage shafts. So I'm going to set the TS3 driver at B1 in the 8.5 head. I'm going to use each shaft at 45.5 inches, stiff flex. I'm going to hit 5 real balls with each driver. I'm going to give you some feedback on kind of the feel of the shafts as I'm hitting the shots. Then we're going to look at some numbers and help give you guys a bit of feedback that if you don't get that opportunity to get fitted, maybe which one of those shafts you should be looking for. Right, then first up we're going to go Tensei. So stiff shaft, we are looking at 55 grams, so very, very lightweight. So the theory being here, maybe a little bit more speed, possibly a little bit of sacrifice in spin, but 5 real balls, and to work through the shafts, I'm going to give you guys some feedback on kind of how it feels and how if maybe the change in shaft maybe affects my consistency of strike on the club head. I'm going to set the TS3 head at 8.5 B1 with each shaft, and let's see which shaft for me comes out on top. So shot 1, Tensei. So just felt a little bit low off the face. So nice and straight, but certainly not expecting that to be my longest. But take that at just over 270 and nice and straight. And I think the great thing with the Titleist drivers this year is even the stock shafts, the 4 stock shafts that I'm testing here, there's really something for everybody in there, but you don't necessarily need to hit all 4 of them, but there should be something to suit anybody with that head set up correctly. So it felt a little bit better strike wise, which is why I'd expect that just to turn over a little bit more. A bit more carry out of that one. Again, 285. So it's very, very personal, and I just feel even a first couple of swings with the Tensei, it feels kind of very, very soft and not really got a lot of idea where the club head is through impact, and feels already like quite inconsistent with the strike. And that's felt a little bit low off the face. Again, accuracy is pretty decent, but not really what I'm after strike-wise. So, kind of 3 very average ones so far. So it feels a slightly better strike. That's a very, very straight one for me. Again, good shot. And some good numbers. Let's go one final one with the Tensei. That one felt very out of toe. Turning over. Just offline. So certainly for me, Tensei there, didn't love the feel, found it very inconsistent with the strike. Head kind of one centered one, a couple of low ones, one out the toe. So just, it'd be interesting when we look at the numbers there. I think we'll see quite a range in kind of spin, all down to strike there. So for me, the Tensei, clearly a good shaft, but not really what I think I'd be looking for. So we're going to switch over from the Tensei into the Hazardous Smoke. So I'm going to keep the setting at B1. Get that down there. Get that screwed on. So this shaft, kind of 60 grams. Much lower torque, so a little bit more weight in here, expecting maybe keep the spin down a little bit more. And historically for me, maybe the ball striking's been a little bit more consistent with this weight of shaft. But again, 5 shots, and let's see how the Hazardous Smoke 6.0 works out for me. So again, felt very, very slightly below centre, but felt solid. I'd take that one off every tee. That was okay. And again, shot 2. So that felt much more solid. There's my stock little draw. Certainly that one getting out really, really well. So I think even again, straight away after a couple of swings, for me this feels a little bit more solid. Feels like the shaft's not working quite as hard for me during the swing. But 3 more, and let's see how this one stacks up. So a little bit towards the toe and just left that one out to the right. So I'm expecting that toe strike to be very, very low spin. But 3 so far, I would definitely say this out of the 2 is my favourite feel-wise. I'm just turning a little bit more than I was trying. Okay, good distance, but certainly seeing a little bit more spread side to side, so a bit dispersion's not quite as good with this shaft. Let's get a much better strike, but that one not drawing, a little cut if anything. Right, so even though I felt those were better strikes, definitely side to side dispersion. Poor, you know, a little bit of inconsistency in shots, but again, I said this in all my videos, I would say that was more me than the driver. So I think it's definitely one of those that if I'm able to get a similar part of the club face on the ball, then it's very much down to where I'm delivering that club face. But I would say probably based on those results, maybe neither of those are my perfect one. But we're going to move across into the Evenflow. So let's switch that across on the computer. Okay, so we're going to go Evenflow 6.0, so 65 grams. So we're going just fractionally heavier again. Now, I know this one for me does just maybe feel that little bit heavy and a little bit more dead when I swing it, but let's see what the results are like with this shaft. So there's that little cutty one. Unless I'm deliberately trying to play that, not a particularly favourite shape of mine. And again, just felt maybe a little bit low off the face. So shot 2. That felt much more solid. Maybe just setting off a touch left, but then pretty straight from there. And again, good. Wouldn't mind that one. But certainly for me, feels like I'm having to work a little bit harder with this shaft. I mean, I've got reasonable club head speed, but I'm not super fast. And certainly my transition into my downswing isn't massively aggressive. And this 65 gram shaft just feels a little bit hard work. So I felt a good solid strike. Again, a little fade. Again, playable. And I think historically I've maybe found that once the shafts get a little bit heavier for me, maybe just struggle turning the ball over from right to left unless I hit it right out the toe. So again, felt pretty solid, but just a little fade. So we're seeing some consistency there, even if that's not what I'd be hoping for from a shape of shot. Let's go one last one with Evenflow. That's that toey one. And then when you've been hitting that little fade, if you aim a touch left and hit that, even though that's gone a long way, that'd get me in a lot of trouble. Right, so I'm still, thought that was probably second best out of what I've tried so far, but still probably leaning towards the Hazardous Smoke, just on feel. Again, we're going to look at numbers shortly, but let's just switch over onto the Kuro Kage. So final one of the stock shafts. Now this is a shaft that I've used in the past in other drivers, but just last couple of years, I've maybe felt it hasn't performed quite as well. And to be fair, the model I used a couple of years ago was maybe a little bit heavier than this. So we're going to drop all the way down to 50 grams in this one. The one I used a few years ago was 60 or 62 grams. So this ultra lightweight, again, hoping for a little bit more speed. Let's see how it stacks up. Right then, so I think feeling wise, there's definitely been a clear leader so far. So it'll be interesting to see how this being very, very light performs for me. So a good solid shot. Felt just slightly below centre with strike. I thought very playable, and I would absolutely take that shot off every tee. Shot 2. That felt really good, really, really solid, right out the middle. Very, very accurate. Just under 300, so not bad. Now I think even though this feels light, it definitely doesn't feel as soft as the Tensei. So that's interesting. I was expecting this to feel very, very soft. Ooh, that one just setting off a little further left than I was looking for. And then turning over. Again, not awful. So last couple with Kuro Kage. That's too much shape. That's that toey strike, which I seem, it's definitely my bad one. Always has been and probably always will be, but that a long way left. Let's go one final one with Kuro Kage. So again, that felt very out the toe. Just getting out there. I'm expecting the spin to be very low. So guys, I definitely thought as we ran through the shafts there, I thought possibly the lighter the shafts, and particularly with the Tensei, I thought the less consistent the strike was. My strike is always generally fairly centered, maybe to a bit low, up towards that toe. But let's look at the numbers for the 4 stock shafts for the Titleist TS3 driver, and let's see, feedback wise, I would have definitely gone Hazardous Smoke first, then probably Kuro Kage, then Evenflow, then Tensei. But let's look if the numbers back up what I felt. So you can see swing speeds at 110, almost 111, 110 and a half, 111. So certainly with the lighter shafts, Maybe a little bit more speed out the lightest one there, but pretty consistent. If we look at ball speed, we saw 157 with Tensei, which I thought was my least consistent strike. 159, 158 and 159, so not a huge amount in that. If we look at launch angle, 10.3, 11.3, 11.4 and 11, so again not a huge amount. If we go into spin, Tensei was generally very, very high, and that last one, that toey horrible left one, dragged it down to 2.7, but you can see kind of around that 3,000 as an average. The Hazardous at 2.6, probably not quite as low as I thought it would be. Evenflow 2.7, and interestingly there, the Kuro Kage down at 2.3, but I would have said very much those last two being out the toe warped that. So probably based on performance, we're going between Kuro Kage and Hazardous. If we get into distance, we look at carry, 257, 268, 262 and 265. Averages at totals at 281, 291, 285 and 291. So certainly Kuro Kage and Hazardous coming out on top for distance and performance. If we look at the misses, kind of not great with Tensei. With the Hazardous, we had anything from kind of 21 right to 32 left, so a 50-yard spread. We had a bigger spread with Evenflow, and we had a pretty similar spread, so not a huge amount in that. If we look at performance, so if we look at the left-hand side, the spreads were all pretty similar. Was yellow, which was the Evenflow, but if you look at the red, the white and the blue, all very, very similar. So certainly for me, Kuro Kage and the Smoke, pretty close together. Right, so we can see from the numbers there, guys, not hugely different shaft to shaft, but certainly we could see that there was two that kind of stood out for me on certainly on feel, but certainly on numbers, and they were the Hazardous Smoke and the Kuro Kage shaft. Now, I personally just felt that the slightly heavier shaft in the Smoke, I felt I knew where the club head was a little bit more, and I feel I'd be able to work the ball a little bit more. But I think, like I said in the video there, 4 really, really good shafts as an offering for stock. You don't necessarily need to be going into upgrade shafts to get great performance out of these drivers. So guys, hope you've enjoyed the video. If you have, like and share it, comment below and I'll get back to as many people as I can. Subscribe to the channel if you don't already. Follow me on all my social media platforms, all under Ali Taylor Golf. Hopefully catch up with some of you guys down here in the future. Stay in contact.